Welcome back to more Let's Play Dragon Warrior Monsters. Last time, we took on the Gate of Judgment, where we found several very helpful monsters for breeding, specifically the Spot King, who is one of the bigger slimes in the slime family that is extremely useful, much in the same way that, say, an Andreal is in the dragon family. We set ourselves up very nicely to do lots of breeding today, and ideally, take on the next arena. So, first things first, let's see what all we've got. Because I know I wanted to breed a Hammerman along with a Devil. Now, I'm not sure if we even have a Devil available. If we do, it's a Medusa Eye. And the problem is that they are both male, which isn't the end of the world. Now, one thing I do think I want to do is I think I'm going to breed up some Andreals, just because we don't need them sitting around. So let's do Torque and Golem here. Create an Andreal for a future breeding, because we know they are so darn useful. This is also going to clear out our ranch, so that way we have plenty of room. Because, let me tell you, we're going to be getting a lot of monsters, ideally. So we do not care to hatch it right now, that is fine, especially with how much, or how many monsters we can now find, and how quickly we can level things up. Hatching things right away just isn't a necessity. So let's see, then we want to do... I forget who after that. Let's take a look here. Let's see. Because we have... Over in Gulp is a female, so that doesn't work. Do I have a male dragon? I might not. Okay. It's not the end of the world, all things admitted. Now, one thing I do want to check is for our... Okay. So I believe last time we did the Queen's request, we got Icarus here to show her, or Icar as I named him. Now, what I want to do is I want to breed, I think it's Icar and, gosh darn it, I need another dragon, which, yes, Cobra. If we do this, it will make another Sky Dragon. This is going to be extremely useful, because we're going to need several Sky Dragons. At the very least, 2 of them. So, seeing as we've already used them for their purpose, getting the extra Sky Dragon will save us a load of time. Not that we can't get another Phoenix, but going to get a Gizmo, breeding that bird, making the Phoenix, etc., it's a lot of work. Now, we should have 2 Sky Dragons, which is very fortunate. And the other thing I want to do is take note of the Medusa Eye, because he should be male, which is a-okay. Now, what I plan on doing is I want to hatch the Andreal, make it female, and then the Andreal and Medusa Eye are going to breed. Now, in the intermittent of getting levels for said Andreal to allow them to breed, ideally, we're going to stock up on Sirloin, and then we're going to get another Medusa Eye. Gender shouldn't really matter, because we should be able to make it work. I'm also going to need another dragon at some point, I believe. Maybe not right away, but I believe at some point I will need one, so it's not the end of the world. Let's see. I think I also want to get actually 2 Archdemons, interestingly enough, and I want to get another Medusa Eye, so I think right now I want to focus on the Medusa Eye and Archdemon. I'll probably start with getting another Medusa Eye, just so that way we can get some levels for our Andreal. Which, speaking of, I guess I should hatch them. Does the gender matter? It does. I want the Andreal to be female, because I very specifically want to breed them with our Medusa Eye. Because, I will tell you right now, when we breed Andreal with Medusa Eye, it will create Orochi, which, while it was a interesting enough boss, I care about breeding Orochi with Sky Dragon. Whoops. I just blessed it and didn't even evaluate it. Whoopsies. Let's see, lots of power, takes some time to grow up. A boy. Awful. Should have not blessed it by accident, but that is okay. Let's see. Also want to evaluate our other Sky Dragon, just so I know what we're working with. Girl, A-okay. At least for now. Worst case, if it is a problem, we'll go and fix it. Not a big deal. I figured too, I'll also quick double check, make sure Medusa Eye is actually male, but I believe it is. You want to make sure you're crossing your T's and dotting your I's while you're doing breeding, because one false step and you are screwed. Or at least, well, you're going to have to spend a little more time than you probably wanted. So just keep it in mind. Now, I think what I want to do is I also want to hatch one of our Sky Dragons. Because that Sky Dragon is going to breed with the resulting Orochi. And so for this, I think it's really tough to decide who to bring. I think I want to bring Soul for the sole purpose of getting him more EXP. Threw at me all you like, it was a fun joke. So then we will hatch our Sky Dragon. Now, funnily enough, when I first played this game, I used the Sky Dragon pretty often, and for some reason unbeknownst to me, I would normally give them the name Skid. Something about this name just fit to me, because Sky and then, like, Kid or something like that. Only to realize that, you know, like, skidding, like, skid marks on something, like, on a street, and I'm like, not quite what I was going for. I don't think of, you know, tire tracks and skid marks on pavement to be a dragon, but I just thought it was a fun little name that I used to name them. But sure, in honor of that tradition, we will name this one Skid as well. We will leave Rose behind. And then, like I said, oh, holy moly. Non-bred level 1 monster. It has been a while since we've seen one of those. Let's see, we do have some sirloins, that is pretty good. But I figure we will take a quick trip to the market, grab some sirloins after emptying our inventory, and then I will head to the arena, ideally level up a bit, catch a Medusa Eye, or maybe 2. I actually might want 2, because one of the pairings I want to do is going to involve Rain. So we're going to be saying goodbye to Rain, so long as I do things correctly. Now, it may not be immediately, but still. So we also do not need ribs whatsoever. So yeah, thinking ahead, I probably want 2 or 3 Medusa Eyes. And then I will need... oh gosh, there's just so many gosh darn monsters we need. It's gonna be a long session for me. I was gonna say day, but, well, that might not be true. I might have to split this into a couple days based on how much time I have. Still, I will see myself. For now, we've gotten our sirloin. Now, I figured, too, the nice thing about training our monsters how we are is that because we only have one powerful monster, I can reliably set the other 2 to defend with cautious. And ideally, I should be able to get 2 sirloins out on the proper Medusa Eye fight, while Soul uses whatever magic to ideally hit everything and leave just Medusa Eye for the end. That is my plan, and that is what I am hoping for. Here's a quick stat check before we hop on in. You can definitely tell which dragon was made through breeding, because holy moly. I don't think we'll get level for Soul, but we'll see. You never know. Because ideally I want to just get these two to level 10 and just call it good. At least in this area. So, that is the plan. Figure we'll save the game. And I will see you once we catch our Medusa Eye and probably leave. Or maybe our several Medusa Eyes. We'll see how it goes. Alright, we got our first Medusa Eye. Now, in order to keep things simple, I'm literally just going to name them Med 1, Med 2, and Med 3. That way, we will have an easy way of keeping track of them. Again, their stats aren't really anything significant, but at the very least, they are easy catch devils. Otherwise, our farming here is pretty much done. I'll need to make sure to buy another warp wing, but that is a-okay. We will make our way on down to the farm. Now, also, too, I do need to change my plan to charge. I had the other two set to, and set to command just because Skid died. Not a big deal. It actually helped with catching the Medusa Eye just because there was less damage going to it, which was super nice. But typically, if I know a skill won't kill a monster regardless of its position, I will let them do that, the other two defend, because they're on cautious and such low level, and then usually I'll use the next turn to set everyone to command and attack one enemy. It usually works pretty darn good. So let's see, Skid is good to go. And then Anne, I want to breed with our current Medusa head to create Orochi plus 4. It is a new mate, very cool. So I figure, let's go ahead and do that while we're here. Beautiful. Now, we will wait to hatch this, because I need to make sure that it is a male Orochi. Because the Orochi will be breeding with Skid here to create a lovely new dragon. Let's go to the evaluator. Evaluate our baby Orochi. Let's see, lots of power, lots of skills. A boy, beautiful. Just to make sure I'm not crazy. Perfect, I can remember the gender of my monsters. Perfect. Or I guess, well, in this case it'd be the sex, but you get the idea. The symbol of which they are, which is one of two things in this game. Very simple. Hello, Mr. Old Man. We will now hatch our male Orochi. And then after this, I think, again, I'm going to take our baby Orochi here, which I think I'm going to just name him Oro, because, I don't know, cute. Oru sounds good to me. And then we're going to go try to get some more Medusa Eyes. Again, probably 2. Not because I specifically need Medusa Eye, but because I need devils. And seeing as I'm already in the market, I may as well catch them, I figure. Now, the other thing I am going to need... Actually, no. Nope. The devil is exactly what I'm after. So that's okay, that's fine. It's a zombie I'm going to need. Which is kind of weird, but we should be able to get one easy peasy. By the way, here is Skid's stat increases that she's gotten. Not phenomenal. Pretty good attack, all things considered. Like, if you started the game and started using this right away, whether it be male or female, would have been a pretty good party member in terms of strength. So, you know, good. However, baby Orochi almost entirely destroys all of her stats. But hey, that's what +4 in breeding will do for you. So, you know. Otherwise, save our game again. And you know the drill. I'll find some Medusa eyes. See you back. Should be all good. Alright, our second Medusa eye. Also female, because I believe the other one we caught was. You will be Med 2. Beautiful. No. And back on the hunt for another Medusa eye. And there we go. Our third Medusa eye, who will also be named Med 3. Whoops. If I can actually hit the A button. There we go. No, you don't need to come with us. And this is where I tell you I was a fool. I didn't go buy a warp wing. So I'm gonna have to go through the whole 15 floor dungeon or find a warp wing. So I'll be back once to do that. Well, it seems I got lucky. We found a bard while we were finishing up escaping due to my error. So I figure quick little fight with bard, show you some lovely stat increases, namely for soul. Now I'm hoping that she gives him HP. If she doesn't, not the end of the world, because a free 20 in any stat is still a free 20 in any stat. I'm not going to be mad at that. Also, too, metal cut. Didn't expect to get to show that off, but as you can see, extremely effective. Plus, we get some levels for Oru and Skid. Very lovely. Get some medicine. Soul's HP increased by 20. Excellent. That is the big one I care about. That's also why, when we originally bred Soul, I'd mentioned that there was a better way to do it. I wasn't too worried, though. Otherwise, I also found a life acorn. Boom. And just from that, Soul gained a whopping 25 HP, which for every point, that'll go quite a ways. Here we go, around the last big room, then we will finally be free of our prison. Skid and Orochi will be able to breed. We can move on after this fight, of course. Now, luckily, like I said, this is one of my, or have been saying, this is one of my favorite gates to grind, just because it's not hard, like at all. It gives good EXP for what it's worth, most of the floors are short. That's why, when I realized I didn't have a warp wing, I kinda didn't mind, because I figured in the event that, you know, I found a floor that could spawn a bard, it would be very well worthwhile. Lo and behold, it was. So even if you make mistakes, like forgetting to bring certain items, specifically a warp wing, it can actually turn out to be an advantage in ways that you may not have expected. Now sure, was it the point of coming here? No. But am I gonna look down a free 20 HP? More HP than Soul's gained in all of his levels combined? No. No, I'm not. I'm going to happily accept it and keep on going. I figure it's the best way to do things. Besides, we'll get a little bit more EXP here for everybody. Call it a day. Go back, do some breeding, actually return to the market, and pick up some warp wings and coin. And then I'm probably going to grab Rose and Toto, just because I want to have some firepower for going to recruit Archdemons, because they are hard. They really are rough. I am not a fan of having to fight them with just one party member, and to be honest, as much as I love Soul, I don't know if he could take them on competently by himself. So, no thank you. Hey there, Pulio. We are going to, I guess, drop off, because we just do not need them. I guess while we're here, here's what Oro's looking like. Much better. Really good attack and defense. Agility's kind of middling, intelligence not great. Good HP, good MP, carefree. Learned a bunch of pretty useful spells. Not a terrible monster. You could certainly do worse. And otherwise, Skid, just to show you, here's about level 15. Again, not really phenomenal, but for early game, it's definitely a useful monster. Plus, with it learning Blaze Air, it can be really useful. So, honestly, if you got the ability to hatch eggs, hatch that, and then kept using it along with, say, Slib and, like, your Draki or whatever your Draki's offspring was, you could do pretty darn well with it, to be honest. Otherwise, pick up Rose, welcome back, sweetheart, and bring back Toto. Now, they will have a bit of wild on them, just because we have been away for a little bit. But as you can see, 24, it's not that bad. We'll continue on down, and down again. I figure it may as well do all of our little pit stops on the way to do all the breeding we wish. Let's see, let's buy like 3 warp wings right now, just so I don't forget. And then we'll buy a bunch of sirloin. Now, I think in order to get the Archdemons, I'm going to need to check this, because I know they're one of the more difficult monsters to recruit. It's either 2 or 4 sirloins that I'm going to need. Can I pick up like 7 of them? Oh, I can't. Okay. What about 5? Okay, I can pick up 5. Is that a full inventory? Not quite. Okay. In that case, I guess let's sell the repellent, which I happen to pick up. Didn't buy it or anything, so we'll sell the repellent. Then buy 2 more sirloin. That should keep us plenty stocked up. And so long as we can fight the monsters reasonably, we should be able to recruit 2 Archdemons fairly well. Again, that's assuming we manage to actually do it correctly. That may not be the case. Because, let me look here. I know some monsters are just an actual pain to recruit. Let's see, Archdemon. Nope, they only require 2 at minimum. So we should be a-okay. Worst case, we'll just have more sirloin for later. So now, let's breed, I believe, Skid with Oro.
Seems like a new monster.
Yes, it does. Let's absolutely say okay. And welcome in one of the, wow, a really good, unique monster that's going to be terrible because we did very little breeding for it. Still, it will be a lovely, lovely partner for later. And it is a baby Divine God. This thing is incredibly good. Even with its terrible starting stats, this thing would grow into a monster if to let it. It also happens to be one of the final Queen's requests. I believe this is, in fact, the last one she will ever ask to see. In fact, since we last stopped showing her monsters with the Hornbeat, Reaper, and Phoenix, we made a bunch of monsters in preparation for her post-game requests. Specifically, our White King, Toto, who we've been using, which, to be fair, I wanted to use him regardless. The King Leo, which I didn't really use. A Rainhawk, which was Rain, who we used for a fair bit. And then we have the Armorphian, which was a pain. Rose, who is our Rose Vine, who again, I decided I wanted to end up using. She's probably one of the harder ones on the list. A Gold Golem, which we did make. And finally, her last request, Divine God. That's one of the reasons I wanted to go out of the way to do this right now. But Divine God will have another purpose. Now let's see. And it is hilarious seeing these 3 next to each other. Luckily, our Hammerman is male. Select our Medusa Eye. Now, if we do it this way, it'll make Grizzly +2, which is not what we want. So, you know what? I'm going to use the third one. Use that. Select Hammerman. That is Grendel. Oh, I'm getting my monsters mixed up, aren't I? Here's the problem. Medusa Eye is a specific monster for creating a Grendel. I didn't remember that. So, let's take our Medusa Eye and breed it with kinda just whatever, to be honest. Dark, you're the boss. I don't want to breed with you. So I guess, Wild Ape? That'll also make a Grendel. I mean, I guess. It's a mate we haven't made. Sure, whatever. I don't think we'll need the Wild Ape. Worst case, if we do, we can just go find them. I'm not too worried about it. So originally, my original plan was that I was going to breed an Ogre, which typically is a Devil and a Hammerman. In this case, it's a Grendel. Now, to be fair, the whole reason I am breeding the Ogre is to create a monster called Gate Guard. Otherwise, in order to create the final monster I do want, it's actually 2 Grendels. So, ultimately, 2 Grendels would work. It's just not the intended method. But I guess, you know what? Let's just take advantage of it. Let me go back down, and let's use our other Hammerman to make another Grendel. Oh. Again, like I said, this is not at all the way I meant to do this, but why not? We have the means. So, sure. Besides, we've seen Ogre before, so works for me. To be honest, I kind of didn't realize that I was doing more or less the same amount of work. Really, the big thing I wanted to do was to show off the Gate Guard, just because that was a new monster. So for reference, we probably could have used Grendel and then Hammerman to create Ogre, but then we would have needed Ogre and a zombie in order to make Gate Guard. Alternatively, with a Grendel, if you have a whole slew of monsters, but specifically some really, really hard to get ones, like a White King, or Rosevine, or some other easier ones, like, I think Misty Wing is one of them. Let me look at the list. If you have a Coatl, which we have no clue what that is, a Dead Noble, which you might remember getting that, Giant Moth, which we did encounter, so that's an easier one, Mad Condor, which I don't think we've seen. If we have, I don't remember. Misty Wing, not terribly hard. Rosevine, ridiculously hard. Do not breed that to get a Gate Guard, please. Skullgon, which isn't terribly hard. Slimeborg, who is a slime family member we have not yet encountered, but will encounter soon. Swordgon, and then White King. So, I had wanted to show off the Gate Guard by doing Ogre and Zombie. Didn't really work out. It'll probably save us time this way. I think the actual intended method of getting Gate Guard, by the way, is 2 Demonites. So you could actually get it fairly early on, but I just didn't, so whatever. So instead, we'll use 2 Grendels. So let's see, a girl. Also, notably, it's somewhat resistant to enemy spells. That means it inherited a resistance, which is pretty cool. So let's see here. A boy, perfect. So I am still going to need that Archdemon as far as I remember. Oh, no, I actually won't. Because 2 Grendels creates the exact monster I need. Huh, we'll fancy that. Saved us some time, actually. How goofy. works for me. Let's hatch, trying to think of names. I was gonna say, like, Rendall and Rendetta, but, well, we can't fit big names like that. So let's see, her name is going to be, um, Grin. Yup. That's correct. Goodbye, Rose. So sorry, sweetheart. And the male Grendel. I guess I'm just gonna name him Gren. Really no point in fretting over it. Now, notably, although that did save us time with breeding the specific monster I do want from their pairing, there is more breeding that I do want to do in the future. This just happened to cut down on some of it now. So, that's good. For me. But otherwise, I guess, realistically, I'm gonna go take these two and level them up. Again, I really don't super care about their level. This is all ultimately building up to something that I really did not intend on showing off originally. And whether or not I do is still largely up in the air, if I'm being completely honest. But with all the monsters we've made, all the things we've done, I figure it's at least worth working toward. So here's our two Grendels. They're fairly similar. One's evidently better. Also, here is Soul. He's actually going to level up soon, so he will probably gain a level. Otherwise, you know the drill. I'll be back once they're probably about level 10, maybe 15. We'll see. Well, ironically, Soul actually didn't level up in the time that it took to get these two to level 10. As you can see, they're not terrible, at least in terms of HP and defense. Everything else isn't really great, but meh, it's fine. At least Graydon got some skills. That's cool. Now, as I've noted, Grendel wasn't exactly what I was going out of my way to get, but their offspring together, specifically two of them, because this game loves doing that, is. So let's head on up to the Master Tamer here. Hello. Hatch, breed. Let's do, I guess, create them first. Then not Soul, no Ren. Seems like a new monster. Oh, yes, indeed. In fact, this will be a monster that should be rather familiar. One that we've recently tangoed with, surprisingly.
Inside it is a baby Akubar.
Which was the last boss we fought. Kinda crazy that getting this monster was so simple. Now, I don't want to hatch it right away. Also, too, another thing I considered is both of our metal slimes are males, which is kind of a pain. At some point, I might want to try to get another slime to breed those two together to get one female metal slime and, you know, make a metabel out of them, which is notably a monster I don't believe we've seen, but it is one of the best EXP monsters in the game, along with Metal Kings and Gold Slimes, but I don't think you ever find them? You might find Metal Kings, but Gold Slime definitely not. Regardless, let us go and evaluate our Akubar. It's a very healthy one, inherited lots of skills, which I entirely doubt. It is a girl, which I believe is what we want. Because we are going to be breeding this Akubar with Rain. This was the big penultimate goal of today, is getting all this done to create one final monster, which notably is not one of the Queen's requests. So I am more than happy about that, because her requests vary from wild to mild, to say the least. Hello, Akubar. I guess, you know what? Your name's Jill. Welcome aboard, Jill. Yes, we will take her with us right now. And then I guess while we're at it, let me take a look here. Gulp, soul, right. Medusa eye, right. Really, I need another dragon at some point. Not the end of the world. We can go get a dragon another time. Oh yeah, we have our sky dragon. Yeah, because that'll be used for our next. Okay. My plans are well set in stone, as they are. Still, we're going to work on leveling up our Akubar. And I guess I'm going to take Rose with us, seeing as she is very, very useful. So let us pick up Rose, because I want her to gain EXP. I feel just because we saved time, we will give her a sirloin. There we go. Let's then change our plan. Jill, be cautious, mix. Perfect. Beautiful. Also, kind of cool to see the boss we literally just fought get bred so easily. Its stats are admittedly terrible, because I didn't really put any time into breeding it. But hey, that's how the cookie crumbles. Now, seeing as we have Rose with us, I'm going to try to get an Archdemon. This may or may not cost me, because I do still need one. But then I'm going to need 2 dragons, so, I'll have to go do that. Still, here are everyone's stats. Soul should level up. Otherwise, Rose probably won't. Jill is going to level up a billion times. That is a-okay. We will save the game. Wow, 44 hours last save. My goodness. How time flies. But I'm going to level her up. Ideally catch an Archdemon, and then we'll meet you back. Alright, we got our male Archdemon. We absolutely will take him. I'm going to name him Artie, I guess. Sure! Looks good to me. Which, actually, let's take a look at him. Level 34. Really, really exceptional intelligence. Super good. Great HP, good attack, pretty good defense. Agility's the only thing they're really lacking in. They have Boom, Bolt, Slash, and Bird Blow. Archdemons are darn good. I also figure I'll take the time to mention that Soul hit level 15, gained 2 HP off that level, which is very nice. He also learned Iron Eyes and Rain Slash. I got rid of Infirmore and Poison Air, because those just aren't quite his thing. I figured Poison is eh. At this point in the game, I would rather just outright deal damage, and I really don't plan on having Soul ever go to Mix, really, other than to use Iron Eyes. So, I figured that was worthwhile. Otherwise, too, Jill hit level 4. She is going to be a very slow leveling monster because of being from the boss family, but that's just how it is. Still, we got our Archdemon, and I figure, honestly, while I'm here, the EXP is darn good. There's also dragons later on. I have the sirloin, so maybe it's worth me just staying here and getting dragons from here. At least that's my current idea. Because if memory serves, there are Torchagons on later floors. Now the only problem are the floor hazards. They are going to be an issue, but I think I can overcome them. So that's going to be the plan. If I can catch, or well, recruit 2 Torchagons here, I'm going to try for it. Plus, it's going to take me a while to level up Jill anyways, so be it. I'm going to get to it, and I'll see you once we find some Torchagons or something else interesting happens. Alright, took a little minute, but we got our Tortragon. We will take her with us. I'm just going to call her Tor 1, I guess, because I don't think I'll need more than 2, but still, may as well. By the way, here are the stats. Again, not great on anything but defense, attack, and HP, but still, we will take it. Looks good to me. Additionally, too, I will mention that Rose gained a level. She learned she learned Magic Wall instead of Barrier, because Barrier only reduces fire and ice attacks, or breath attacks, by 50%, whereas Magic Wall reduces all spell damage by an amount. I think it's specifically resistance, but still, Magic Wall, super useful. She also would have learned By Attack, but I would much rather her have Twin Hit to boost everyone's attack slowly and keep it as a buff, as opposed to By Attack, which is her attacking twice, but the second hit has 75% power. Or I think it's both hits have 75% power. Either way, took Magic Wall over Barrier. Very, very useful, because more resistant spells is always welcome. Otherwise, I'm going to keep walking around, or more specifically, use Soul's Whistle to get more encounters, find another Tortragon, ideally recruit it, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you once we find our next Tortragon. There we go. We got our second Tortragon. Welcome to the party. Tor number 2. Beautiful. Of course, we will not be taking it with us, but with all that, we should be nice and finished up here. Admittedly, these things took a little longer than I would have liked, and I know this episode has been running for a fair bit of time. Still, we got a couple levels. Here are the stat differences, looking pretty darn good across the board. As you can see, Akubar, aka Jill, gained pretty good stats overall. Agility is clearly not their strong suit, but they have good MP and pretty middling stats otherwise compared to what we've seen. Not a bad monster at all, but with how slow it takes to level, its move pool isn't terrible, at least with the things we ended up getting on her, but it's still nothing that I would be outright crazy for, if I'm being completely honest. It's not bad, but it could be better, if I'm being honest. But hey, that's the case with a lot of the monsters in this game. Knowing only 3 innate moves means your move pool's generally very limited, though there are some that are better than others. Otherwise, let's see here. We want to go with, I believe it's Jill and Rain. This will make Jamaris plus 8, another boss that we have fought. Weirdly, this is not a new monster, despite it also being a boss that is unrecruitable normally. So, kinda weird. But sure! This is also notably a much harder combination because it requires specifically an Akubar and Rainhawk. I don't know why they made some monsters a new one compared to others, but hey, whatever. I am happy to have Jamaris. Now, I think for the time being, we are going to leave that in the egg, because this will be used in a much, much later breeding. I'm going to say recipe. It's going to get very, very, very complicated. Just know that at some point, this and Rose are quite possibly going to make another boss monster. I don't know if I specifically want Rose to be with Jamaris and to specifically commit to this, but I might do it as part of a bonus episode. Basically, what I'm talking about is when we started the series, I mentioned that there was an ultimate monster, or, well, maybe not when we started the series, but at some point I may have mentioned through the annals of us talking that there is an ultimate monster that takes hours upon hours to actually breed. Now, specifically, I have never done this because it is generally speaking ridiculous to do. However, with all the tools we have available to us, all the things we've read for the Queen's request, all of our current party members being as amazing as they are, and all of the pieces we've gathered throughout our journeys, a lot of which are in here, specifically, say, Gold Golem, our Sky Dragon, our Divine Gun, Jamaris, even Toto being a White King, King Leo, our Morpion, Rosevine, Gold Slime, Darkhorn especially. We have ourselves set up incredibly nicely to work toward the ultimate monster. This isn't exactly something I think I want to do, at least in one episode. I don't want to have just a giant, go for it, but at the same time, I think it would be really cool to show it off. And we have so many of the bits and pieces that I think it'll make a fun finale or ultimate goal sort of deal. Because frankly, getting the ultimate monster takes so much time and effort, and it creates one monster. We would have to lose more than our entire party and more than our entire monster storage to create this one monster. So although I am slowly and steadily setting up all the pieces in order to create this monster, it's going to be probably at the very end of the series. And I don't plan on just doing, one whole several hour long marathon in making this, at least immediately, because as of right now, it's actually completely unobtainable. We are missing a very specific monster that you cannot get until you beat the game. So even if I specifically wanted to, you could only get so far. Now, to be fair, once I do, if I do, go for this final ultimate monster, it will take a long time between all the breeding, all the combinations, showing off every single boss monster in order to get there. It's a lot. It is a serious commitment, and that's why I'm still unsure if I'm going to do it. I do like the idea of showing off some of the boss monsters, or at least more of them. That's why I did want to make Jamaris, is because eventually it could make another boss monster, and it's one of the very specific monsters you need. Same with White King, same with a lot of the monsters we've already made. In fact, some of the other monsters we have will make other monsters that are also for the bosses. It all kind of works in on itself. The stronger you get, the more monsters you accrue, the more likely you are to be closer to building this final ultimate monster. It just takes a lot of time and effort, and that's why I've been so wishy-washy on actually doing it. Again, as a series finale, or maybe even a bonus episode, I think it'd be really cool and fun to do. And like I said, I have been slowly putting together all of the pieces. But as you've seen, thanks to our playtime, we are, take a look, 45 hours into the game, still haven't beaten the main game, and we are barely starting to get, halfway to making this monster. That's how much of a massive undertaking this is. And this is on a Game Boy game from 2000. Seriously. Okay, maybe not specifically, the year 2000, but you get the idea. This game has a lot to do. Seriously. A lot. Also, specifically because of Japan's release date, it was before the year 2000, but you get what I'm saying. Came out later for us, yada yada yada. For a Game Boy game, this game has a ton to do. So, that's why, I've kind of been worrying about some things. And again, hesitating. Because as cool as it would be to show it off, especially during the main playthrough, it is just such a tall order that, oh my gosh, it is a headache to even think about it. Still, maybe we will get that bonus episode in the future. Now, to be fair, we've done a lot today. I know I wanted to do the arena, but we got so much good reading done and so many things and puzzle pieces slotted away for later, including the final Queen's request. I think that's a pretty darn good note to stop on. Like next time we play Dragon Warrior Monsters, we'll be more than ready to take on the next arena, and probably head right on into the next gate and see what it has to offer. As always, I'm Fred. Thanks for watching, and have a good one.